Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we're going to be talking about installing Vnish by Crypto LLC onto your L7, Bitmain L7. Now, if you're looking for the installation video for just Vnish in general on various Bitmain miners, then check out the description of this video. You'll find the link to that. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about details of the L7, what settings to give it, how fast you want to run the fan speeds, profile switch, and all that stuff. All has to do with an L7, but not the installation of Vnish itself. So make sure you check out that other video in the description. And if you're looking to build a farm, you're looking to host, you're looking for hosting in the United States or in Russia, we have very good rates for hosting in Russia at 5 cents all in. So if you're looking for that, we have that available. Or if you want to host in the United States, we have that available as well at 7.5 all in. So you get great rate on the firmware, on the pool. You get discounts there and there, as well as just a great experience, hosting with us at Crypto LLC, because we take care of your miners, make sure they don't have any humidity problems, any overheating. They run at the best efficient settings to give you the best results. So check out our site, cryptollc.org. All right, so before we get started, Bitcoin saves your wealth and Jesus Christ saves your soul. All right, let's go. So this is the video about the L7. So how do we know it's an L7? We look over here on the right corner. It says Antminer L7. We are running the 1.2.6 Alpha 3. This is the most updated version. So the next Vnish that's going to be coming out is going to be 1.2.6. And we always have the most updated versions that we run for Crypto LLC, which is a lot of the alpha versions. You can see Alpha 3 right there. And then how do you know you're running Crypto LLC? You're going to look at the left corner here. You'll see Crypto LLC. So why would you want to run our firmware? So the reason for that is we get the most updated versions. You can see Alpha 3 here. Also, if there is any additional bits that we want to add to the firmware, we have direct contact with Vnish. And so if they wanted to add, a certain profile, a certain fan speed, a certain setting, a certain way to switch between one setting and another setting, all that stuff can be added for our firmware. All right, so let's go. So we are running this L7 in our maximum, which is 95 megahertz. See right there is the speed. Consumption is estimated at 3440. Now this is never correct. It is never that. It is always off by like 200 watts. Either less or more. We have our temperature. This is the highest temperature for all three boards, is 77. We know that by looking over here, 76, 76, and then 77. So the highest value goes here at 77. Then we have our pools, all that other stuff, hash rate there, and then our auto tune. So our auto tune did a good job. You can see 119 chips are doing great, 118 here and 118 here. We have some slow chips at 2%, 2%, and then 2%. So slow chips just means that when it auto tuned, one of the chips was a little bit buggy or a little bit jumpy, so it slowed him down a little bit to make sure that he stabilizes. That's what that yellow means. This is very normal. It has a lot of chips. You can see 119, 120 chips, I think, is on this thing. Yeah, 120 right there. And so it jumps around. You can see this one went up and this one went down. 116 are good, 120 are good. This is very, very normal, so don't really pay attention to that unless you see something big like 10 or 20 chips that are yellow. That's when you got to start thinking about, okay, what's going on? Maybe I need to retune it. Maybe this hash board is glitching out, because there's so many variables of why your hash board will have issues like that. But what we recommend to do is just restart the mining process and then check back in an hour and see if it dropped those 10, 20 chips again. And if it keeps doing that like 1, 2 times, we'd recommend just going to profile. I'll show you here. Go to mining, go to performance, and go over here to preset, and then click on that. Here's your presets, and then click on your active preset, whatever preset you think you want to retune. So you'll retune that preset. All right. So that's what we do, and what we recommend you do as well. Now, in terms of the best efficiency for the L7, so we did some testing here. A lot of L7s, we have some smart PDUs, so we know how much power they're consuming plugged into that smart PDU. And we did some testing there. And the best setting in terms of target temperature on the chip is 75. So we tested this at 70, 65, 60, and so on. On some miners, you actually will increase efficiency, like an S19J Pro, you will increase efficiency. But on this L7 or these L7s, it does not. So when we brought this down to 70, and when it's cold outside, by the way, so the only way to test this at full speed, at full 95 megahashes, 9500 megahashes, is to test it when it's cold outside. So we waited when it's nice and cold, like 3 a.m., it's 50 degrees Fahrenheit outside or 40 degrees Fahrenheit, very cold. And so we set this to 70, and then we saw no improvement. Then we set it to 65, 60, 55, there was no improvement all the way down. So we were like, okay, so there is no improvement on L7 chips when you go down, but is there an improvement when is the loss gonna happen when you go up? Because there is a point where if the chips are too hot, they start losing efficiency. And so we came to the conclusion of 75 degrees is what you want it to be at, because you don't want a fan speeds to be running at 100% speed just all the time. You know, there's no point putting it to 70 if you're not going to save any power. There is no point of doing that. You know, there's no point going to 65 and so on. There's no point having this miner run at 100% fan speed and it's snowing outside. So what we ended up doing is figuring out the value. The value is 75. You set that to 75. If you set it to 80, you will lose power efficiency, so you're going to start losing power efficiency, and obviously if you keep going up, you're going to lose more and more and more. So 75, that's what you want for L7. Now, the other setting we have is number of fans. So number of fans we set to 1. The reason for that is because sometimes you'll have a dead fan, and let's say it's wintertime and it's always cold, and you have 1 fan go down. Now, since it's wintertime, it doesn't matter. Your miner can run just fine with 3 fans. But since you had this set to 4, this miner automatically turn off and stop mining. And so why lose that hash rate? Why lose that profitability? It's better just keep it at 1. And then if the miner hits your shut off value for the temperature on the chip, then have that be the reason why the miner shut down, not because it lost a fan. So we set it to 1 always, especially for low power mode, because they will never overheat, and you can lose a fan. You won't even notice that you lost a fan when it's wintertime. This low power mode, they spin at like 20%. You lose a fan, they spin at 30%. That's the difference there. Not much of a difference. So we're going to keep it at 175. Now let's go to, didn't talk about pools, but this is more just common sense. You plug in your pool information, your worker. You don't need a password, but you can if you want to. Let's go to performance. So for performance, if you have a modified power supply, you can click that. We don't do this. We don't plug in 5,000 watt power supplies and overclock these miners. We just run stock as the target top of the line speed. We set it to stock. We don't go anything higher than that. And then we just drop down the power profile if it gets hot. But if you wanted to overclock, you can do that here, especially if you're doing immersion cooling. That's what basically this is for mostly for immersion. Now let's go to presets. So preset is what you want your miner to run at. Now we're running auto switching profile. So we have auto switching presets here. You can turn this off and just have it run straight, whatever value you want. Let's say 9500, you want to run it here. So you can set it like that and it'll just run 95. If it overheats, the miner will shut down. So we do not recommend you do that. There's no point doing that, especially in the summertime, and especially if you have very, very fluctuating temperatures. Like outside it's 90 in the daytime and then 50, 40 degrees in the nighttime, like you're in Vegas, let's say. It gets really cold in the desert out there. And if you have your mining operation out there, you want to actually have these presets. So what these presets do is you give the values of when you want the preset to go up 1 profile or down a profile. So our initial preset value is 3053 watts at 8500 megahashes. Now the reason why we chose this, here's another reason, because there's so many details here when you're setting these presets that I have to kind of explain all of them one by one. There's a lot of them. So let's start off like this. The preset value, the initial value, when you restart the miner, what do you want the miner to do, right? You can tell the miner start at 95 megahashes. What we do is we say, no, do not start at 95, start at 8500. The reason for that is because if your miner restarted for whatever reason, there was a power outage and your power came back on 20 minutes later for some reason, right? You don't want your miner to turn back on at 9500 megahashes when it's 100 degrees outside, because it'll immediately overheat. And your condition check duration here will not trigger because it'll overheat in less than 10 minutes. See this? Less than 10 minutes, it'll overheat, it'll overheat, it'll overheat. So if you set it to 3400 watts at 95 megahashes and it's 100 degrees, it'll never go down a profile because it'll always just be stuck there. So what we did to go around that issue is we set it to a lower profile. So we set it to 8500. So now we're running actually downclocked. We start here. So that way, if it is 100 degrees, it'll just stay there. It might go down a little bit lower and lower and lower, but it's not going to overheat. But if it's wintertime and you have this preset set at 3053, 8500, then it'll actually start here, and then 10 minutes later, it'll trigger, it'll go up a profile, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So in 30 minutes, you'll be at your top speed there. Now, your top speed can also be set over here. So we're going to tell it, do not go past 3441, 9500 megahashes. Do not go past this value. That's our maximum. Now, we can set it higher. Basically, we can tell it to overclock and keep going on that overclock. If we have a powerful PSU and we're doing immersion, we can tell it to go faster. We're not going to do that. We're going to tell it this is stock 9500, run like this. And that's what it's going to do. It's going to run like this. Now, for the duration check, so this is what happens with the presets. If the fan speeds are less than 90%, then and only then will this trigger, right? Will these values trigger. If your fan speed is more than 90%, it will not go down a profile, right? It will not go down. If your fan speed are above 90% and your chip temperature is overheating, then it'll go down a profile, okay? And here's how we set it here. We set if the temperature is lower than 80 degrees Celsius on the chip and your fan speeds are more than 90%, right? Then, actually it's over here. If your temperature is higher than 85 and your fan speeds are more than 90%, right? Then it's gonna go down a profile. So it's gonna go down. So let's say we started at 3441, right there, 9500 megahashes. And outside temperature is really, really hot. Our fan speeds are 99%. They're running crazy. Our temperature goes up on the chip to 85, 86, 87, 88, right? It's getting really, really hot. This check right here triggers. The miner says we are running too hot. The fan speeds are 100%, or at least they are 90% or more. Go down a profile, so it'll go down here to 3300, 3320 actually. It'll do the same thing again. 10 minutes later, it's still past 85. It'll go down another profile. 10 minutes later, it checks, it's still past 85. It'll go down another profile. And then it'll check again, and it's not 85. Let's say it's 81. So it'll stay there. It'll stay there, it'll stay there. Now it's going to keep checking every 10 minutes. It's going to say, is the fan speed less than 90%? So that's how it goes down profiles. Now let's talk about how it goes up on profiles. So let's say you're running hot, and so you were stuck here at 8,500 megahashes. You were stuck here, 8,500 megahashes. And now it finally got cool outside. It's getting cooler and cooler and cooler. Nighttime's coming around. You're in the desert. It's finally cooling off. And now your fan speeds were at 99. Now they're 95. Now they're 90. Now they're 85, right? Yeah, they're 85. So at that point, it triggers. It says, okay, 10 minutes passed. The fan speeds are less than 90. What did he set the temperature for, the target temperature? So we set it to 80. If the temperature is lower than 80, go up a profile. So now it's going to be checking, what's the fan speed? Well, it's 85. Let's say it's 70% fan speed, right? Really slowed down, got cool really fast. At that point, it says, what's the chip temp? Well, the chip temp was 75. So it says, all right, fan speeds is less than 90, chip temp is 75, which is less than 80, go up a profile. So if we were stuck here, it's going to go up here. And it's going to check again in 10 minutes and keeps going to go up and up and up. So what we see a lot of times happen is, usually when it's cooling off, this will trigger like every hour, because it'll take about an hour for it to actually drop the temperature significantly enough where it's going to be like, hey, the fan speeds are less than 90, the chip temperature is less than the value. So now it can go up a profile. So basically around like 3 a.m., in the summertime, because it's really hot, it's like 95 degrees in the daytime. So at like 10 p.m., it's 75, 80, and then, 10, 11, 12. At 12, it's going to be, now it's going to be 70, 65 degrees. So around like 2, 3 a.m. is when we actually come back up and we are mining at 3441, back up there. So it takes a couple hours. Now, the reason why you want to do this, the reason why you want to do profile switching is you do not want to have your miner just turn off. So these miners, if it's like 100 degrees, they're going to overheat. So it's bad for the miner. You do not want to have the miner hit the value and just overheat all the time. You don't want that to happen. It's bad for the chips. It's bad for the miner's health. You don't want to ruin your miner. Also, you don't want to be offline. So your miner is just going to turn off. It's going to keep trying to turn itself back on. It's going to try to mine again, but it's always going to be overheating. And so you don't want that to happen. You would rather just run it slower And then, but at least you're making some money. You're not losing money, by the way. You're just making less money. You're not losing any money here, right? So if you're mining here, 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 your efficiency is around the same. You're just losing, you're creating less coin. At the same time, you are consuming less power. So it's about the same efficiency. You're not losing any money. You're just not making as much. You know what I mean? You're not losing efficiency, by the way. That's how I would phrase it like that. You're not losing efficiency there. So that's why you want to run it. You don't want to fry your miner. Also, you can set, for those wondering, you can set what temperature you want the miner to shut off at. Usually for Bitmain miners, they set the default value to 90 degrees Celsius, which means that when the temp sensors, there's 4 temp sensors on each board. If one of those temp sensors hits 90, at that point, the miner will shut off because the miner thinks that the hash boards are overheating, or at least one of the hash boards is overheating. So you can change that when you go to the Advanced tab over here. You click on Advanced, and you can see critical temperature is 90. So we have it at 90. The reason why we have it at 90 because there's no point changing it. We have a profile switcher here. If I go back to performance, our profile switcher is 85. So the miner will never hit 90. It'll never happen because it always go down a profile. There is no point changing this. Doesn't add any benefit. But if you were running without a profile switcher, you just wanted to run full blast whenever possible, and you were thinking, you know what, I don't care, I just want to run full blast, I don't want to go down profiles, I'd rather have the miner shut down for 2 hours or whatever. If for some reason you want to do it like that, then what we recommend you do is go to the Advanced tab, go to chips critical temperature and change this from 90, change to like 87. At least give your miner a little bit of room. You know, don't run it to the maximum, you know, temperature that it can handle. Give it a little bit of breathing room. We'll lower this down to like 87, just so it has a little bit extra. It doesn't, you know, you don't fry a board. So we recommend you do that. Then maximum restart attempts. So when it's doing auto tuning, it's going to be tuning the hash boards once, twice, and 3 times, and then on the 3rd time usually is when it's tuned, is good to go. But if you wanted to do even more tuning, you wanted to like really put in the effort and try to get the best tune possible, you can change this to any value you want. You can change it to 10 if you want to. I guess it'll keep going. Doesn't mean it'll go to 10 because it might still go to like 3, and then at that point the miner will make a decision that the tune is great and it'll just start mining. But if you have like these kind of beat up miners, hash boards are not in great condition, and they require a longer tune, then you can change this to 10. We have it at 10. I don't know. I don't remember changing this. It might have been one of my techs that changed it to 10. But you can do that. It doesn't do anything negative for the miner. It's better overall. But again, you're not going to really see it go to 10. Usually, it never does. It just goes to 3 and then starts mining. And then more additional settings here. This is the others category of settings here. So we have quick start. We don't use that. There might be some, I think I've read about it before, didn't see any use in it. I forgot what it does. It does something of quick start, but you know, if the miner takes 2 more minutes to start, who cares really? Probably, I think it's doing something to the way it's turning on the hash boards, but I haven't checked into that, and I don't see any importance in that, so whatever. We left that off. Check balance voltage domains, yes, you want to do that. Adapt voltage to temperature, yes, you want to give it lower or higher voltages based on the temperatures, so it'll make sure that it fluctuates, so the hash boards are mining, you know, to the full extent. They don't get any of those red chips or orange chips because the voltages are too low or too high. And then quiet mode. So this quiet mode, we turn this on. This is off by default. And the reason why you want to turn this on, by the way, quick start is also off by default. But the reason why you want to turn on quiet mode is because when you have your mining farm operating, right, it's mining and let's say it's 3 a.m., right? And you have maybe some people living, you know, a quarter of a mile away, right? Or you have someone living like 500 feet away. So they're kind of far, but kind of close. And you don't want your mining farm to start yelling like crazy in the middle of the night. Now, if you're running like a little operation, you have like 20 miners and you're running them out of your garage or something like that, you don't want your miners to scream like crazy at 3 a.m., right? You don't want that to happen. In the daytime, that's a different story. Maybe they're a little bit loud in the daytime, but that's daytime, and you know, maybe no one's going to say anything. But at 3 a.m., people are going to get mad. So you turn on quiet mode. So if you lose internet in the middle of the night, your miner doesn't go to 100% fan speed, right? Usually that's what happens. That's how Bitmain programmed their firmware, is that if the miner is detecting some sort of fault, like there's an error, there's a temp sensor goes bad, the internet goes down or whatever, the miner automatically tries to protect itself by turning on the fan speeds to 100%. Because it's assuming something is wrong, so it doesn't want to fry the boards, it goes to 100% fan speed. Here we're telling it, hey, if something goes bad, you know, do not do that. Do not go to 100%, just go to 50%. And the reason for this is because you don't want it to scream. Now you might think, well, what about 100? Isn't that better? No, it's not better actually. I understand the logic of why Bitmain would want to do that. You know, they don't care how loud the farm is, and they're just like, you know what, just go to 100, whatever. But in practical reality, like if you're running mining farms as we have for years and years and years, if your internet goes down, your miner is not going to overheat. That's impossible. They're not mining anymore, right? They're not mining anymore. So why would you go to 100% fan speed? Makes no sense. And if your temp sensor goes bad, right, we already have the settings set where we tell the miner to turn off or to do a profile switch down or to turn off at 87 or less. So again, you're not going to overheat anything. So from our practicality standpoint, there is no reason why you want to run the fans at 100% when you lose a connection like that. So we have this set to quiet mode, and it works great actually. We had internet loss one time during the evening, and internet went down for like 20 minutes for some reason. And the whole farm just was quiet. It continued to be in quiet mode. All the miners are just running 50% fan speeds, you know, everything was fine because they were around 50% anyway since it was the winter time. So it was great. It was a really good example. We saw how it worked out. We're really glad we had this thing on and we didn't have the whole mining farm screaming like crazy. All right, check voltage settings. So this is just going to check the voltages periodically. Same thing with integrity of chains. So make sure all three chains are hashing together. Yes, you want to do that. These are all, by the way, these are default. So keep these on by default. Resume mining after reboot. This is interesting why they have this, because that's what it does anyway. Like if you reboot the miner, if I go here and I click on reboot, it already starts mining on its own. I don't understand. I guess maybe if you have the miner paused and you did a reboot, maybe that's why. But we never pause our miners. You have to kind of investigate that one. We never looked into that one. We never had to use this ever. So you can check it out. By the way, if you have any suggestions, any comments, make sure you guys leave them in the comments of this video. You know, leave what results you guys are getting, what profiles you're running, what state you're running them from, what country you're running them from, what type of weather do you have, what kind of temperature changes do you have. You know, are you having like a 30, 40, 50 degree change from daytime to nighttime? And you know, how does the firmware help you manage that? So it'd be great if you guys leave comments, let us know. All right, and then downscale preset on failure. So now if we have a problem with the hash boards, you know the hash board overheated or the hash board lost, or you know, connection or whatever, you're gonna go down on a preset in that case. So this was more kind of useful if you are overclocking, right? If you're overclocking and you gave the chips too much power, too much hash rate, you're asking too much from the miner, and the miner, you know, it got hot outside and your liquid cooling is not handling it, your immersion cooling can't handle it. You know, at that point, you know, you lose a board because the voltages and the chips are just going crazy. Then I would turn this on and go down a profile. Again, we don't overclock our miners, so we don't have this on. And by the way, default is off as well. So keep it like that. And then skip broken temperature sensors. So skip broken temperature sensors. So you have 4 temperature sensors on your boards, right? If one of them is broken, this is very normal. Don't be scared of that. That happens, especially if you buy used miners. It doesn't mean that the hash board is bad. It's just sometimes the temperature sensor kind of glitched out. Maybe it has like a piece of metal on it, or it has too much dust on it and it kind of overheated itself. And so all 3, let's say 3 temperature sensors are showing good values, and then one temperature sensor just goes crazy. He's showing like 300 degrees Celsius, right? You don't want to shut down your miner because of that one temperature sensor. So we always turn this on for all of our miners. And again, we have profile switching, we have the protection set in, and all that other stuff is turned on. So we don't have to worry about one temp sensor going bad, and then because of him, the whole miner is being turned off. So make sure you turn this guy on here, keep him on. And then fees, you can go to fee. This is where you can set your hotel fee. This is off by default. You can set your region, dev fee. I mean, we don't play with any of this stuff. By the way, for fees, so there is a 2.8% standard Vnish fee for their firmware, which pays for itself with the power savings you have, which pays for itself with the profile switching that you get, which pays for itself if you do overclocking, by the way. You know, if you want to overclock, you can also do like a slight overclock. You know, you go down here to not 34, but you go to like 39, you know, something like this. You can do that. Just have a slight overclock when it gets nice and cool outside. So those abilities pay for themselves, right, with the 2.8%. And that's how Vnish pays for their programmers, pays for their, you know, their advertisement, their website, their operations, everything else. Now, Crypto LLC, again, we partner with Vnish. So if you guys want those extra abilities, extra settings, extra profiles, all that stuff, make sure you guys install our Crypto LLC branded Vnish firmware. Have it on your guys' miners. And again, we run the newest version. So when a new version drops, we're going to have those additional settings and features in our firmware. You can see 1.2.6 Alpha 3. So when the new one drops in, we'll have that. And again, we talk with Vnish. We are the reason why S19s have a 1500 preset, 1500 watt preset for low power mode. We are the reasons why S19J Pro also has a 40 watt preset as well, is because we talked with their development team and had them add those additional presets to allow low power mode for older miners, S19, S19J Pro, and S19 Pro. So they added all those because of us, because of Crypto LLC talking with them. So make sure you guys use our firmware. Again, leave comments. Let us know what you guys think. Let's see. I think I covered everything. I could talk a little bit about some of these things you see here on the very front dashboard page. So you got your standard hash rate. Let's see. I'll try to give you guys some tips here. Temperatures, errors. This is your error count. This is normal, so don't worry about that. Like if you're at like 5%, that's when you should start worrying about that. And let's see, 9500. Again, if you guys are thinking, why does this say 9500 preset? Why am I running at 9.7, right? Why am I running 200 and like what, 5, 6, 7? Yeah, 220 mega hash is, you know, faster than stock. The reason for that is because when it tunes here, when it tunes these hash boards, sometimes you get a higher value, sometimes you get a lower value. So this miner is at 9.7. Some other miners might be at 9.3. So that's why. So when it tunes itself, it spits out numbers per hash board. Like you can see here, 3.103, 3.3, 3.15. You know, if you were lucky and you had 3 hash boards, they could have all been at 3.3, right? Then it'd be 369, you'd be at like 10 mega hashes. Or yeah, 10,000 mega hashes if they were all 3.3 or more. So it just depends on the hash boards, and it depends, you know, how they have the silicon lottery for building chips. Is sometimes one chip could be better than another chip by like a whole 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5%, even though they're the same exact chips. They're made at the same exact fab. They come out at the same exact time. But for whatever reason, this chip is 5% faster than this other chip, even though they're exactly the same chips. So that happens with ASICs as well. You can have hash boards with super good quality ASICs, and then this hash board over here might have less quality for whatever reason. So you got to keep that in mind. Not only ASICs, you also have your resistors and your diodes and your voltage regulators and all those chips that are all on the hash board. Some of them could be of lower or higher quality. Just, you know, maybe the solder is a little bit off, and so you have a hash board that's a little slower. And then other details, by the way, for hash boards while I'm talking here. So you can also take a look at your hash boards and get some hints from the hash board overheating or not. And how you do that is you look at, first of all, if you, let's say you have 77, 76, 75, and let's say this one's 87, right? So this is 75, 76, and this one's 87. You're like, that's weird. Why is it 87? Why is it so hot? They're all there. And you go out to the miner, you take a look, and the miner looks great. It has good airflow on the left and right-hand side, top and bottom. It has nice, clean airflow. You put your hand around the miner. You don't feel any hot air being sucked back in. And you're thinking, why is this hash board 87? So one of the reasons for why would it be 87 is obviously if it has a piece of dust, piece of garbage, that like a plastic wrapper that got sucked in, and it's sitting right on the heatsink, not allowing the heatsink to hit this board. That's one. The other thing is it could actually have voltages that are messed up on it. So what you do is you look at voltages, 14.46, 14.46, 14.46. They should all be the same voltage. For some reason, sometimes you can have a miner that just freaks out. It has some weird voltage here. And if you restart the miner, that could fix it, or it could actually just require repairs on it because one of the voltage regulators is glitching out. So you can have an issue like that. Also your mega hashes, again, if you're giving it too much juice, the mega hashes might be too high, and so that's causing it to overheat, and so on. Your tune could also be bad. Maybe when it was tuning these 3 hash boards, it tuned these 2 correctly. This one was a weird hash board. It was glitchy. It was doing crazy things. And then when the miner did 10 attempts, right? You remember that was 10 attempts I had set in the settings. When it did all 10 attempts, it still could not fix board 3. So it said, all right, I'm done with tuning it. This board just won't tune, so I'm going to run it as is, right? It's let's say it's a messed up board. It's unfixable. You have to send it to repairs, right? The auto-tune can't get it tuned. At that point, it'll start mining, but then you have it freaking out, and it's at 87 degrees. The voltages are weird. The mega hashes are weird. It's got a bunch of yellow or red chips over here and that type of stuff. So if you try tuning it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and it still has these weird values, then you're gonna have to send this board out for repairs. Something is physically wrong with it. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I think I went through everything. Again, guys, leave comments. Talk about what type of settings you guys are running your L7s at, what target temperatures you're getting. Like our best value is 75. What are you guys getting? Because there's different types of L7s, by the way. The new Bitmain L7s that they might be releasing here, or they're selling here in the future, could actually be running maybe slightly different chips. Like Bitmain is not obligated to sell the same exact L7s, right? They could actually get some sort of deal, or maybe they found some different manufacturer for the ASIC chips, and so that different manufacturer could actually create ASIC chips that do benefit from a lower chip temp, right? So those are values you got to kind of look at. You have to run this. That's why when you get your miners, just run them and figure out those numbers. We ran our L7s, and that's what we got. Go back to cooling, got it at 75. So if you guys got different values, leave it in the comments so we can benefit everyone here that's using these L7s at their mining facilities. And if you guys are running S21s, you guys are running Ks, S19K, you're running S21 Pro, you're running a Hydro, leave a comment, give us some bits, some juicy information from those miners. How is Vnish doing over there running on those guys? Is he doing a good job? Is he doing a so-so job? What's the results? Well, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys like it. And until next time, goodbye.